All right. Hello, everybody. I did not get a walk-on song, but that's okay. I was curious about the DJ there, but anyways. My name is Felipe Kuzner. I am really, really happy to host this panel today, the plenary session, probably the hottest topic of the day, World Trade in 2025. Navigating uncertainty and seizing opportunity. I'm really delighted to be here. I've been working with Steve Olson and Stephen Chung since day one. I haven't missed one single Select LA, and I'm so proud to be actually here on stage today. We did that last year in Long Beach. I serve as the executive director of the World Trade Center Long Beach, a partner agency here for trade development and foreign direct investment attraction. And it's really an honor to be here because thank you so much for all of you who stayed. I know it's the final stretch. You know, there's the cocktail reception later, doesn't matter. You're here because of the content. You're here because you want to hear from us and from the experts, not from me, but from the experts, everything that is going on, not just here in California, a little bit in the European Union, and our partner countries all around the world. So with that, I would love to invite my panelists to join me on stage. Please join me in welcoming Emily Desai, Consul General Sophie Hotat from Belgium, Marla Blevins from the Los Angeles World Airports, and Juan Perez from Monex. Thank you, thank you. You have a seat, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Well, thank you. We heard a lot, great, I mean, seriously, thank you, Marla. We heard so much. Emily, I think, yeah, you're one this way, yes, thank you. I got the last one. Otherwise, the micro, it's not gonna work. The day has been, I mean, today is packed with so much good content. You know, we heard from the governor, we heard from the lieutenant governor, we heard from the mayor, from the supervisor, a number of consuls general and private sector partners. And the conversation today, again, is, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty. Every time you go to an economic forecast, the theme is uncertainty. Is the Fed gonna raise? Is the Fed gonna lower the rates? And actually they held it. So with that uncertainty, a lot of opportunities also rising. There are new markets, there are new alliances being forged, there's just new trade agreements brokered today or celebrated today with the United Kingdom. And I'm really fortunate to have this panel here today with us because as much as we heard a lot of great things about what's happening with our economy, we're not gonna be repetitive. We're gonna try our best actually not to be repetitive. This is the 10th anniversary of Select LA, and this is always original content because things are shifting daily, right? I don't think there's anything else happening today that the shifting policies and tariffs, the supply chains, the alliances, and the markets are shifting every single day. So before I jump in, I really would like to start you off with brief introductions. I'm not gonna read your bios. Everyone can have access to them online. But if you can start, and I'll ask Emily first, and Consul General Sophie Hotat second, Marla third, and then Juan fourth. If you can just give just a quick opening statement about who you are and what you do. Thank you.
Sure. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Felipe. Huge congratulations, I want to start to the LA EDC team to have 10 years, so many friendly faces in the room. It's just so impressive what you all have done, to have the architect of who created Select USA, to be the first spin-off event. Just a huge kudos at the highest levels, and then also down to the staff who make all of this run so efficiently and effectively and setting the scene for all of us. So big, big thank you and congratulations. My name is Emily Desai. I'm the Chief Deputy Director at the California Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. You may know of us as GoBiz. We serve as the state's lead on economic development and job creation here in California. My boss, Dee Dee Myers, is the governor's senior economic advisor. She sits on his cabinet advising on all aspects of the fourth largest economy in the world, and we're very privileged to work under her leadership and very glad to be here today.
Thank you, Emily. Consul General.
Good afternoon, thank you, and good afternoon to everybody. I'm very glad to be here. I've been in Los Angeles since almost 2 years, so this is my second Select LA. Sorry, I won't beat you. So it's a privilege to be here. I'm Consul General of Belgium. My name is Sophie Otta. I'm the Consul General for Belgium in the west of the United States, taking care of the interests of our citizens and our companies. And I'm not alone to do that. So I would like to acknowledge the presence today of my colleagues, Trade Commissioners Hubert Goffinet and Walter de Bain, and Melissa Prast also. So thank you and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Consul General. Marlon, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm thrilled to be joining you. My name is Marla Blevins. I'm currently the Chief Airports Administrative Officer for Los Angeles World Airports. We are the agency that owns and operates LAX and also Van Nuys General Aviation Airports. I have spent the last 25 years of my career working for the City of Los Angeles, and I've had a really wonderful and unique opportunity to work for agencies that promote goods movement, people movement, and generally speaking, economic development. Prior to working for Los Angeles World Airports, I was a Chief Financial Officer at the Port of Los Angeles, and prior to that, I was an Assistant General Manager at the Los Angeles Convention Center. So I've had a really good, great opportunity to serve my city in a unique way, in ways that promote commerce and development for the region.
Thank you so much, Marla. Juan, please.
Well, thank you all for coming and sticking around. I know it's been a long day talking about trade and economics, but it's been a lot of fun. It's always difficult to follow an act like Dr. Simi, so please do put up with the not so entertaining part of this panel. But I got to tell you, I'm Director of Trading at Monex. My name is Juan Perez, and for 16 years I've experienced everything that in the United States and Mexico has united us and made us major partners. So Monex, for those of you that may be familiar, since this is California, I'm coming from Washington, D.C. That's where our Monex USA headquarters are. But we are basically a company for Banco Monex, which is a full bank in Mexico. And here we focus on foreign exchange. So basically, my job is to connect people through foreign exchange and the US dollar. So here I am to talk about that.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is really exciting. We're going to make this very conversational, so if anyone feels inclined to chime in. But the idea here, we heard from the governor, from the video, we heard from the lieutenant governor. We're going to have a perspective from California. We're going to have a little bit of a perspective from one of our key economic engines here for the region, LAWA, with LAX and Van Nuys. We're going to bring it, we're going to bring it to the European Union and ask Consul General Sophie, and by the way, I'm so happy that there are 3 more people que falam português aqui na plateia.
Eu falo também.
Também? 4, ok. 4 pessoas falam português. Mais alguém? 5. Ok, 5 people, 6. Ah não, você, Renata, eu já conheci. Tá na conta. Okay, so there are 5 people that speak Portuguese here, and this is a very diverse group, so I'm very happy for that, yes. But we're going to bring it home because we're going to talk about a benchmark with Belgium. And then we're going to leverage on Juan's experience with all your economic outlook and your experience with foreign exchange and money transfer and foreign payments, so that we can then land this as how companies are doing well within these uncertain times, right? So that being said, so much is going on, and Emily, the Port of LA and Port of Long Beach, we talked about this extensively today. I think nowhere in the world we're seeing more of an impact of what's happening with our policies coming from DC, but also everywhere in the world. So, from your perspective, from the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, what is the current state of global trade in 2025?
Yeah, well, the panel orchestration that you outlined, Felipe, might be more complex, so I'm glad I'm not moderating. You got a lot to cover. So I listened to a podcast at 7 this morning while I was getting ready today in my hotel room, because I feel like the bottom line is when you talk about what's going on with the state of international trade right now, you have to figure out what happened 5 minutes ago, right? So it's just constant volatility. But I think what's happening right now, and the bottom line, right, is we're seeing this broad movement toward deglobalization, right? And especially here in the United States. And when you look at how that plays out across the world, you're seeing that give rise to things like, populist movements. And how that, relates to international trade is because there are many people, and there's a very acute perception that for decades, international trade, as supply chains have deepened, as things have gotten more integrated, it's done that in a very uneven way. So we have this profound economic inequality. And so international trade, and as deep and vibrant as these supply chains are, it hasn't always worked out well for everyone. And so that's something that I think underpins a lot of the political dynamics that we're seeing. It's something that I think we have to be very, very cognizant of, is who are the winners and losers in all of this. And so in many advanced economies, there's this feeling that international trade is leading toward displacement of domestic manufacturing jobs, and that was true under the Biden administration, right? And it continues to be true now. And obviously, you see the two administrations handling that very, very differently. So while there is some very clear merit to those arguments, and we see that, what we know is that it's also not a zero-sum game. It's better to understand these root causes and see about how we can build upon an improved trading system that brings more equity, delivers more opportunities for people, but doing so with reciprocal, retaliatory tariffs based on the mercurial tendencies of however someone in the White House wakes up one day is not how you do that. So that's Emily's editorial comment for the day. Obviously issues above my pay grade, but we all have this, have become sort of tariff experts. And the governor has been very unequivocal in this. And what I appreciated hearing from Mayor Bass this morning is she used the exact same language. California will strive to continue to be a stable and reliable trading partner amidst all of this uncertainty that's happening with the federal backdrop. So both the governor and the mayor are saying the same words, and those words really matter. That consistency of working with our allies, working with our friends, and continuing to signal that commitment is really, really important, because what we're dealing with right now is tariff levels that are at this level that we haven't seen since the Great Depression. And amidst this backdrop where 80 years of geopolitical relations are changing, today happens to be the 80-year anniversary of Victory Day with the World War II. And I think those geopolitics and those transatlantic relationships are really important for us to marinate on right now when we think about the US's role in the world. But subnational diplomacy, the governor talked this morning about commercial diplomacy, that really matters. And that's something where California is really leaning in on, because what we're seeing right now has profound economic impact. I'm going to talk about just one example of tariff and trade policy that we haven't heard a lot about today. On Friday, this very nuanced aspect of trade policy called the de minimis exemption was lifted. And what the de minimis exemption is decades of trade policy that exempted products from under $800 from mainland China and Hong Kong, exempted those from tariffs, right? That lifted on Friday, that went away. And so the US government is now putting that tariff and that tax on American people. And interestingly, and I want to get this right, the Congressional Research Service had a report a couple of years ago that talked about the de minimis exemption, which you can imagine in a world where we have so much e-commerce, 80% of total US e-commerce shipments back in 2022 were de minimis imports, the majority coming from China. Importantly, lower income households are likely to suffer the most of this because 48% of de minimis packages go to the poorest zip codes in the United States. Just 22% of them go to the most affluent. This is inequity. This is a problem, this is a tax, and we know we're going to see it for American consumers. So with that 145% rate on Chinese goods, we need to think about what that means when you go on your favorite e-commerce site and order a shirt or whatever it might be. You're going to start to see the tax on that in a very significant way. So we know the economic impact and the gloom is real, right? We're seeing firms reforecast and look at downward trends in earning expectations. We're seeing inventories rise to get ahead of tariffs. On Monday, the CEO of Mattel talked about moving more of its production out of China, lobbying the Trump administration to get exemptions on tariffs. We're also seeing consumer confidence at record level lows, consumer sentiment that's declining, and we're seeing these red light warning signals in our economy. Economists saying that, for example, the share of credit card accounts only making the minimum payments is rising right now. These are things we need to be very, very worried about. And they're self-inflicted, which is, I think, something we're all trying to wrap our heads around. And to your point, Felipe, California is going to be disproportionately impacted. And I'll leave it to Marla, who can talk more about the logistics and broader implications for our major logistics infrastructure. But California is a powerhouse in global trade. $675 billion in two-way trade. That's 16%, the equivalent of 16% of the state's total GDP. You hear us talk a lot about now we're the fourth largest economy in the world, but we're the fourth largest economy in the world because of international trade, because of foreign investment. And so we need to recognize and continue to uplift and further those partnerships where we can. So I want to talk just quickly about a few actions and leadership that the governor has taken. So first and foremost, California was the first state to litigate against the tariffs. We went out and said, these tariffs are illegal. The trade authority that the president is purporting to use, IEEPA, is not intended to be used as a sledgehammer in the way that it is, and we're gonna go after that. So other states, thrilled to see, have followed suit. So those things are being heard in court. The judicial process hopefully will continue to remain in the United States. We have a strong foundation to build from with international partners. We want to work with allies, with our partners, with all of you, with our consulates, to continue to deepen our relationships. We don't have ownership of trade policy that is not within the jurisdiction of states, but we're profoundly impacted by it. We want to listen to and hear from business. So we want to know how these things are impacting you. We want to share those stories. We want to be advocates on your behalf. The Trump administration has started with these sledgehammer approaches, right? But they're now going into what are called Section 232 investigations. So that's wonky tariff policy stuff, but what that means is the administration is going to be tied to administrative processes. They don't like to dot their I's and cross their T's, right? But those avenues now open up the possibility for things like public comment. And that sounds really boring, but having industry go out there and explain the impact of what this means, having our ports explain what new USTR regulations might mean, that matters. And so we need to make sure that we're getting out there through that public comment period and we're catching them where they can in these inequities that are being exacerbated. And most importantly, two final points that I want to make is the impact on our small businesses. The Lieutenant Governor talked a bit about this. 95% of the 60,000+ exporters in California are small businesses. So we know that these small businesses cannot withstand this. They can't just change prices in order to meet these new demands. They can't get really deep on harmonized structures and know where to find the proper loopholes. They're gonna get decimated. This is a real problem. And so we have funding to support our small business exporters. We want to continue to bring our products and our services to overseas markets. We want to work with small businesses. I know our friends from CMTC are here in the room. They're doing some great work like supply chain support and navigation for small businesses to also understand the import implications. So advocating on behalf of those small businesses is really, really important. And then finally, as are events like this, we need to continue to show that California, the LA region, we're open for business, we welcome foreign investment. We're the #1 state with jobs supported by foreign investment for a reason. We welcome your companies here, we want to work with you, and as the LG said, we've got services, we'd love to work with you to help make sure your business is successful, and to do so with our partners here at LAEDC who are just absolutely exemplary in the work that they do for businesses.
Outstanding. No, this is great. Thank you so much, Emily. I'm going to go back to you a little bit to talk about the programs, how we're making those connections and making sure that we're welcoming the companies that want to set up shop here and the investors that also want to be deploying capital here. But I want to piggyback on your comment. The Select LA platform is where the investors and the companies come here to learn, but also to connect. And learning from you and listening from all the other partners that we have here, other cities. I know that there are a couple of mayors and city council members and commissioners that are here, and a lot of councils in general that are also here to hear from us, but also to learn how to do business. The breakout sessions were great because they're talking about how the cities are working to welcome those investors and those partnerships. Let me pivot for a little bit here and ask Consul General Sophie from Belgium. Belgium is a largely, service-oriented economy, right? I think 70 or 75% of the economy is based in services. What is your take on the current state of play for Belgium and the European Union when it comes to trade in general right now?
Yeah, thank you. Indeed, Belgium is an open economy, a really open economy. We rely on the world, we rely on foreign trade, and we rely also on a stable and predictable rules-based trade world, a trade organized world. So for us, the US is our largest non-EU trading partner for trade in goods and trade in services. We are the 14th export destination for the US, and we are the 12th FDI destination, no, the other way around, the 12th FDI investor in the US. Since 2020, our trade with the US, bilateral trade, was structurally in our, how do you call it, a deficit for us. So the US had a positive trade balance with Belgium for always almost, until COVID. And since COVID, we are more on a balanced trade with Belgium as a country. With California, we have had the presentation earlier today of the new FDI outlook, and Belgium is the 23rd FDI country to California. So Belgium-California trade is important. We could do more, and I think we were already last year identified as a prospect, so we could do more, because what we do for the US as a whole, we are the 12th investor, so we could match that at least. We'll talk about that later, if I may. So the US is an important trading partner for Belgium, but trade is not only Belgium. We are a single market with the EU. We are a customs union, single market. We are one bloc, and trade policy is EU-wide. So we work with the EU, and we search unity. Emily, you mentioned indeed today is the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. And the president of Antonio Costa, the president of the European Council, mentioned that today we don't want to commemorate, but we want to do a call to unite, a call for unity. So unity is important for us. Our bilateral trade with the US, EU-US, so the EU-US bilateral trade in goods and services and investment is the largest economic bilateral relation in the world. It's $1.7 trillion of bilateral trade in goods and services last year. I think it's impossible to grasp that figure. It's so huge. So it is important, and we need that transatlantic relationship. It's based on values, it's based on exchange, people-to-people connection, history, and to each other, we provide trade, we provide millions of jobs, both sides of the Atlantic, an important source of investment. So for us, unity is key in Europe. We want to defend our values and interests and citizens. We want to protect our open strategic autonomy in our economic security, and we also want to de-escalate. So we want to find a solution and to continue to work with the US as a whole. We deeply regret the imposition of tariffs. So at this stage, there are 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum and derivatives, a 25% on cars and car parts, and a 10% across the board on a whole series of goods. So at this stage, today, 70% of our goods are traded are impacted. So the impact touches 549 billion euro of trade. So we hope we are indeed also, like UK, negotiating, like a lot of partners of the US. We are negotiating currently with Washington, D.C., and we hope we can find a common ground, and a fair and balanced solution. But in the meantime, we also work to protect our interests and work on a set of targeted rebalancing measures if need be. But we hope we can continue to work together, and we want to engage.
Beautiful. Rebalancing measures. I like that.
Rebalancing.
Yeah. Thank you, Consul General. And we hosted a number of groups here, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I wanted to just expand a little bit on on the notion that we have, because you're the only representative from the European Union here on stage now.
Yeah, but not in.
Well, on stage. No, on stage. You know, I see it. The Belgian contingent, Consul General of Germany is here. I saw Consul General Sonne as well. But I see you right there. But you know, there's the notion that the U.S. innovates and the European Union regulates. And I think that's very deep ingrained into the European Union way of doing business. But there's a positive take to it. And California is also in the leading edge on a number of innovative regulations. Can you just explain a little bit about how you see that notion that the U.S. innovates and the European Union regulates?
Well, we think it's a false dichotomy. It's a thing we say, and we almost joke about it. It's probably partially true, or it has been, or it has some grounds, but we think it's important to regulate and to have smart regulation, to have a predictable and fair level playing field, and making sure we create the conditions that will foster innovation. And we are also a continent of innovation, the US also, and that's why also we work so much together. That's why also we have so many innovative startups from Europe coming here and doing partnership and finding some working together, and sometimes taken over by US companies. Yep. To continue and to innovate. But we regulate a lot. We have had GDPR on safeguarding privacy and our fundamental rights. And also now we are working on AI Act in EU framework. This is a law that is risk-based. The idea is to, and you know, in California, the same is happening, actually. We have to safeguard. AI is a powerful enabler, but it's also a potential disruptor. So we have to make sure that our values, that our rights are protected in a way that's efficient, in a way that enables also innovation. So, yeah, very
beautiful.
good.
No, it's a responsible innovation and the long-term view also of that collaboration between academia, private sector, to ensure those long-term impacts. So thank you for that. Marla, you know, LAWA, maybe not a lot of people know, but the agency, the governing body for LAX and Van Nuys Airport, one of the busiest general aviation airports in the world, but your capital improvement program is off the charts. I remember I worked for LAWA, and our capital improvement program was $15 billion. And that capital improvement program is ending now in 2026. And you have another $15 billion for 2034 or 35, I think. You know, can you explain a little bit about how you're deploying that capital, but how you're essentially taking care of our critical infrastructure here to make sure that we're accommodating the passengers, we're accommodating the cargo, but you're also providing a lot of opportunities for foreign companies to do business here within the LA ecosystem?
Sure, thank you. So you might have heard there's a little event coming up in 2028 that we're all preparing for, but also before that there's a number of warm-up events that are occurring as well. But a lot of this, a lot of folks think that the capital development that's occurring at LAX is largely due to the Olympics, but it's been in the works for a while, even before we knew that the Olympics was coming. So as Felipe mentioned, we're in the middle of a $30 billion investment plan for LAX that's changing how passengers and users both access the airport and leave the airport, and how they experience the airport once they're there inside the terminals. So over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, we've built a number of new facilities, some of which are not fully operational yet, but the automated people mover, which will bring people to and from the airport, makes 6 stops throughout the central terminal area and beyond, a consolidated rental car facility, an economy parking lot. We've redone most of the terminals on the north side of the airport. Going forward, we are redoing Terminal 5. That kicks off later on this year. And we are also revamping the roadway access into the airport so that we can separate traffic from the community from traffic that is intended to enter into the airport. And so all of this will be done by 2028. So, but in terms of, it provides a great deal of opportunities for FDI and both for local investment as well. We've been leveraging public-private partnerships to develop some of these projects, particularly the consolidated rental car facility, as well as the automated people mover. They are largely constructed. The consolidated rental car facility is partially open. It's going to open completely once the train is operational, and we expect that to be in early 2026. But we have really taken advantage of FDI in terms of the public-private partnerships, the teams that are formed in order to develop these important facilities for the airport. On the cargo side, people tend to think of LAX, oh, passengers, people, but we're at the hub of a lot of global trade with respect to air freight. And we've got a collection of facilities on Century Boulevard and then some that are south of the airport on Imperial. And a couple of years ago, we went out to bid for a public-private partnership to develop those cargo facilities, and we're in the middle of negotiating that transaction and doing the preliminary environmental work for a facility on Century Boulevard with a public-private, with a consortium that we're working with to both modernize our current facilities, but also to accommodate anticipated future growth as well. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with respect to our cargo facilities, and we're really taking advantage of this opportunity to make sure that that happens.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of work. I remember that for the people mover, I think it was a 5.7, maybe now 6 something billion.
A few cost overruns. So.
Okay, yeah, change orders and all of that, we know that. But I think the majority of the companies that actually bid for that project, or they won the bid, are international companies. Mm-hmm. Right? You have from France, from the UK, from Spain, from Germany, and I think one American company. And this kind of shows how the airport is also open for embracing best practices and technologies from companies that are outside of our borders, because we don't have all the answers, we don't have all the solutions, but that your department is actually helping welcome those companies to do business here. Is there anything in the books that you're saying for cargo specifically? Because we think cargo, we think Port of LA and Port of Long Beach. $200 billion each, give or take, about 10 million, 9.5, 10 million TEUs a year. But the airport, I think last year, we did $150 billion. I think it was 85 on imports, 65 on exports. And a significant portion of that is with aerospace, and we know we have one of the largest cluster in the nation. Is there anything in the works for cargo if we have cargo operators or companies that are interested in helping bid for that project? Is that just a regular subscribe to RAMP and go online and find that? How can they do business with LAWA? Just if you can spend seconds on that, please.
I'm sure. Well, we've partnered with a group called LA Community Partners, which is a joint venture between Loop Capital and also Realterm, one of the premier cargo developers in the country. And so we're a ways off from construction and that sort of thing. We're still doing some of the preliminary groundwork and also working out the commercial transaction for that. But I expect that when that gets further on down the line, that there will be opportunities for companies of all stripes to come in and invest and participate.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Thank you. No, this is exciting. And again, every time I remember meeting with a number of companies that were trying to be part of this because they had the solutions and they wanted to show it how it was done. So thank you. I'm going to go back to all of you, but I want to turn it over to Juan with Monex. Your company has been right in the middle of all of this because the money is flowing, right? I think Ron Fearson mentioned, capital move and people move. You're moving money, right? You're helping companies pay their suppliers or relocate their manufacturing plants. Juan, can you explain a little bit more about what you do and what you've been seeing from the business side, how the money is flowing in or out? You do a lot with Mexico, my understanding. And also, I hear that your last 3 months were not bad.
It's been a roller coaster type year where there are many things that are now concerns for trade that weren't before. And I think I'll start by saying that it's almost a shame that California does not have its own currency, right? But we'll get to that later. I think one of the things that, obviously we're in the midst of commerce, right? And it's a very competitive market, but it's never been this wide. I got back. But I can tell you that, I've been, when it comes to financial service, money services, money services, what we ultimately have Is everything okay? I'll just keep going. Hey, you know, people, this is live. This is how we do it. Okay. What has been really the main thing for me in the past couple of months, in comparison to my 15 and a half years prior to what's going on in 2025, it's been wild to be able to do any type of forecasting. And I think if anybody, whichever one? Okay, cool. I mean, you're going to get double the Juan Perez here, so that's, remember me during the cocktail. But look, de-dollarization is our main concern, right? I'm not government, I'm straight business, and what's the thing that ultimately businesses want? Markets ultimately are looking for a source of reliability and stability. And when the very financial system that runs trade is the US dollar, everybody looks for the United States for not only policy but guidance, and to be able to say, I have long-term planning capability because there is a source and a core center that we can believe in. That's ultimately dramatically changing, right? And I know I'm from DC and I don't want to get political, even though that's second nature, but what it is happening is we have to be concerned about de-dollarization, because the financial environment and foreign exchange, where it ultimately is we have currencies, and what are foreign exchange currency? Well, why do we have that world? Ultimately, these commodities, such as the euro, the Saudi Arabia riyal, the Mexican peso, what they are is tools for us to be able to judge the management of countries. That's the reason why I mentioned California, right? Because if California is an outstanding job, it would be great to be able to invest in Californian type bonds or in California, right? That's one of the things that is starting to hit with all of the friction that we're seeing between federal and state and business interests as well. Like I said, ultimately, at the very base and at the very core center, we want a US dollar that you can at least plan and see some sort of patterns. But lately, for me to be able to give you a one-year outlook on euro, it's become incredibly difficult. I don't know if we are going to lower tariffs because they're an ally, supposedly. I'm not sure if they're going to hit us back with retaliation. I'm not sure if Italian furniture makers or Italian furniture importers are going to start looking at perhaps cheaper sources. So that's the type of thing that I absolutely am in the very middle of. But de-dollarization is going to affect all of us because it affects the purchasing power that we have. And for anybody that is in business, right, ultimately, the great thing about the US dollar is that you can always negotiate from a point of dominance when you're anywhere in the United States. You're saying, I can pay you in US dollars, and they're probably elated across the world. Not anymore. What we are ultimately seeing is a change towards what we call, in the foreign exchange world, you have the ask and the bid side, right? So a lot of it is asking for currencies because I'm settling in US dollars. So we sell a lot of currencies, but we've ultimately seen a lot of repatriation. And why? Because, do we really want to just force our business partners and our overseas people to get paid in US dollars when the fluctuation and the volatility or perhaps the deterioration, I mean, we've seen what, I don't have the statistics, I didn't bring my notes, but it's about a 6%, let's be very accurate, counting today's dramatic movements post the Fed, it's about a 6.5% dollar weakening in comparison to its major peers, and this is according to the Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index. So what is ultimately helping me and helping California and helping the United States is personal consumption. So what we are going to be watching out for in the next couple of months is the trends in personal consumption, and if the American consumer can continue to be the backbone of the American economy. Ultimately, it's going to be difficult because we have to worry about stagflation, right? Now, stagflation, for some of you guys that may not be familiar with stagflation, right? We're talking about stagnant growth accompanied by higher inflation and higher prices. So it's a really crappy situation, right? Because then ultimately you're just paying more for getting less. And one thing with California that I've heard throughout the event today is it's being concerned about the supply chain, because California is 40% of the Chinese imports come through here. So while we do not directly deal with Chinese yuan as much, we are seeing a lot of movement for CNH, which is this offshore for basically Chinese CNH is the Chinese yuan that you can get out of Hong Kong, along with the Hong Kong dollar. So what we're ultimately dealing with the most, as you guys are, is people looking for alternatives and looking for social reliability, which has become incredibly difficult.
Excellent, excellent. No, your outlooks are great. I know your material, but from your experience for the last couple of months, considering January onward, shed a light on the trends that you've seen with your key markets, either Mexico and U.S. or U.S. and European Union. What are the key trends that you're seeing in terms of the behavior for those clients?
One of them is working. So one of the things, of course, our bread and butter being Mexico. The Mexican peso has surprised us because, considering the fact that there was, I believe that the U.S. dollar was actually going to improve dramatically. The Mexican peso has improved because, and I'll add a few factors. One of them is economics. And there's still no contractionary pressures, no recessionary pressures developing in Mexico, so we're very happy for that. And part of the geopolitical reason for that is we are very thankful for President Claudia Sheinbaum. Claudia Sheinbaum came from the AMLO school of how to deal with the first Trump term, and I think she has been phenomenal in doing the one thing that is the most important for us, which is holding up the USMCA. So that's really one of the things that I would say for California and for Los Angeles. It's a part where we truly are really immersed in, and we help in managing that risk. And I'll say this about foreign exchange, which I was explaining to a few people I had conversations with. But ultimately, you want stability in business. So what foreign exchange, a lot of what we do is we navigate through the world of protecting yourself. You want to protect yourself from the markets destroying you, right? But what we're now seeing as a major trend is the other P in foreign exchange, which is participation. People are looking at the volatility, the wild roller coaster ride, the fact that Deutsche Bank and other banks, which were wrong, they had the euro dropping to perhaps parity at some point, but the investment by Germany, the fact that they're opening up their coffins, is making the euro incredibly strong. It's the strongest that it's been. So these trends are happening much faster than they've ever been, and that's why a company like us and our guidance is much needed, because we kind of all as a globalized community need to hold each other's hands.
Excellent. No, this is great. Emily, I want to go to you and then Consul General for, based on all this discussion and on the previous panels, Dr. Richard Tang, his remarks are very interesting. His analogies, by the way, I'm from Texas, the great state of Texas, so it's kind of weird. I'm very proud to be in California right now, but we talk about our qualified workforce, our productivity, our diverse economy, our robust infrastructure. These are all assets for California to explore, right, and exploit. So talk to us a little bit about your programs, because we partner with GoBiz a lot. It's a critical component of our day-to-day activity to say, okay, if you need more, then it's beyond LA County or Long Beach or any other county. The governor's office have a pretty good pulse on everything that is happening within the state. So what are your key initiatives right now? And then I'll jump in and just say, what would be your strategic sectors for companies interested in doing business in California?
Sure. Well, let me just quickly respond to Juan, because I felt like I wanted to say amen. I know just enough macroeconomics to be dangerous. That was super helpful and really interesting, and I loved judge the management of countries, with things like currency exchange, et cetera. It was so interesting. So California, we have an array of programs. I think one of the great things that Dr. Tang showed, and we should bring that man to the White House, I cannot imagine the power of his diplomacy. California is the top exporter in 27 different sectors, so that great grid that Dr. Tang put up that shows how diversified our economy is, has a through line, of course, directly into international trade. So when you think about what kinds of sectors, we are trying to proactively support, it's so many different things, right? California has benefited by that. Just a couple months ago, the governor put out California's very first regionally led bottom-up economic strategy called our Jobs First Plan. And Maria, who's here on my team, does a lot of the leadership in operationalizing that plan and does an awesome job at it. But the governor's Jobs First Plan recognizes all of the strengths of the California economy, but also its vulnerabilities, and is challenging us to be thinking about how we want to continue to advance those industries through strategic incentives, through recognizing, opportunities like permit streamlining, and then, trying to refine our programs and our approaches to making sure we continue to be the epicenter of innovation, again, with our international partners, and really focusing on that. Just one example, right, of a core program for us is our California Competes tax credit. That's California's flagship tax credit program. And that tax credit is really based on whether or not jobs might be lost or might not otherwise come to California. And so it's the incentive that we provide to business to try to attract and retain them to be successful in our state. And we would be more than happy to talk to you about that. But we have an array of other things too. The employment training panel is one thing that I want to bring up as an example. That's a funding that we provide to businesses who are looking at new training opportunities for their workforce. And I want to bring that one up in particular because when we talk about these big macro issues, right, about who benefits from international trade, et cetera, so much of that ultimately comes down to the pace and change of technological advancement and things like automation. And both of those things ultimately are going to be beneficial for our society, but not if you can't keep up with it. And so thinking about how we train and prepare our workforce, but doing that hand in hand with industry where you tell us what you need and what your workforce needs, that's the type of funding that we're trying to provide and being as nimble as we can through that approach. And I guess I would just conclude on that by saying that the governor's economic strategy, the jobs first approach, it's regionally led for a reason because California has so many vibrant ecosystems across such a large state. You see it here in Los Angeles so clearly, right? I mean, Los Angeles, we hear about sports and entertainment, but there's rocket manufacturing that's taking place just down this street. This is where the legacy aerospace sector, takes place. We really want to uplift all of that, and we want to work with our communities who know what you need best. And so giving a voice and amplifying those opportunities is our job, especially in a state as big as California. And I guess I should say one final plug is just a really good example of that. Next month, we're going to be bringing a big delegation to Paris Air Show. We'll be bringing 14 small businesses. Just think, for example, that the F-35 manufactured by Lockheed Martin, their entire supplier base by far is here in California, and a lot of them are small business players, right? So we're bringing 14 small businesses to the Paris Air Show. We're bringing 4 fantastic economic development organizations to talk about investment opportunities in their region. We're doing 2 information sessions where we talk about advancements in air mobility, where we talk about advancements in space technology, 2 areas where California has clear leadership and where we want to continue to keep that leadership. And we're bringing this big pavilion to the world's most important aerospace event to continue to send those signals to our partners that we're here, we want your business, we want to do business with you, and that doing that work together has direct impact for sales and commercial opportunities, but also means national security. It means interoperability. It means working with our allies, and California has a role in that. And we're going to be glad to work with our Belgium friends while we're there and many other partners.
Excellent. No, this is really helpful. And again, congratulations to you and the team because you do a phenomenal job. And I know that Stephen mentioned the California delegation at Select USA. It's a great show. Everyone is number 1 at Select USA. Everyone, so honestly, all the
Not
states.
Not Indiana, apparently. But.
Well, they will claim number 1 on something. They will have the best.
Semiconductor, they're doing a good. They're
exactly.
Purdue is.
See?
Field of dreams.
Yeah, exactly. So, Consul General, how can we bring you from 23 to top 10 FDI sources in the state? What are your key sectors? What would be your key priorities and where maybe LA companies would be interested in working with your team? Because I know you have a couple delegations. We hosted a number of delegations recently, hydrogen and clean tech transportation and a number of others. But tell us a little bit more about your key sectors and your priorities so that we can bring you to top 10 out of that number 23 position.
Yeah, we also want the US and California to be number 1 in Belgium. Well, I have to confess, Californian companies are already investing a lot in Belgium, and companies like Google, Hewlett-Packard, Amgen, I should say more, but I can't now, but they have a large investment in Belgium too, because it's really a balanced relation. And Belgium, we believe in the importance of maintaining that and expanding, if possible, that strong bilateral relation and the dialogue, and to continue to work on the positive agenda. We face similar challenges, we share a lot the same values, and the transatlantic partnership needs to be strengthened and not weakened. So we are willing to strengthen that partnership, and that's the reason why you were alluding to it also. We work as a whole. So I am a federal diplomat. My colleague are representing Walloon companies. We have another colleague from Brussels companies, colleague for Flanders, and I invite you all, if you haven't yet, to go outside and to go at, we have a table, a booth from Flanders Investment and Trade. So we all work together, and we work together everywhere in the world, and here in particular in California, we will take a large Belgian delegation to California in October, to Los Angeles, and a little bit also to San Francisco, but I know I can't mention that, so Los Angeles. So we have selected Los Angeles as a destination for our large trade delegation. So at this stage, the companies are still registering to participate. We have about 80 plus companies already registered. They will come with 2 people per company probably. We will have academic part of the delegation also. We will have officials, and the delegation will be led by Her Royal Highness Princess Astrid, representing the King. She will be accompanied by our Vice Prime Minister in charge of defense and external trade, and also ministers, minister presidents from the 3 regions from Belgium. So it will be a large delegation, no wonder. And you were mentioning sectors. Belgium is a diversified economy, of course, and our main exports and our main sector in Belgium is pharmaceuticals, vaccines, life science, health tech. But the mission we will have to California is focusing on several sectors, and you will see some similarities because we will focus on tech, high tech, like from semiconductor to AI, clean tech and energy, health tech, life science, biotech, defense and aerospace, sports media and entertainment, design and architecture, and mobility. I think I've got them all. So large delegation, all sectors, but we focus on some specific sectors that matters for Belgium, but that also matters for California, because we want to make sure we create synergies and we work together, and we want to create opportunities and partnerships for the long term, because we know that you do not decide from one day to another to open a facility to manufacture something somewhere. These are long-term discussion, long-term relationships. You first need to be able to export usually to one country before you decide to invest. So we have to help our companies to make those connections and strengthen the possibilities for also Californian companies to invest to Belgium, to partner with Europe, and to work together. So we are really thrilled and excited about working on this collaboration, and we trust we will be welcomed here. We trust selecting LA was a good choice.
Very good. No, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. That was a great pitch. You guys got that? No, but thank you, because indeed we are, there's one of our colleagues that keeps saying, we roll out the red carpet, not the red tape. Right? And that's the whole effort here, is really to make sure that the companies feel that they're connected to the economic fabric here in LA, but then of course within the state. So actually our time is up. This is kind of insane, but Juan, I'm going to go back to each one of you. Why, why select LA? Why companies should select LA? I know you're in DC, man.
You're right.
But you see where the wind is flowing.
Right. Look, I'll tell you this relating to Washington, D.C. There's a lot of talk in D.C., but you go on the BW Expressway, the Baltimore-Washington Expressway, you get to Baltimore. Baltimore is a port. Baltimore is a place of physical labor. And I think for me, taking this trip and listening to, especially being here, and you sense the physicality of the economy, right? That's why you have to choose LA. At the end of the day, it's the most important port in the Pacific Rim. I don't know if eventually we'll have to cooperate with other ports fighting kaiju or whatever with robots. But, for the next 10 years, and I know that earlier my whole thing was sorry for not being able to forecast the future, which is what I get paid for. But what are the next 5 or 10 years going to look like? They're going to be a roller coaster. And I think with the friction that you're getting from Washington, and I think from some of the retaliation that you're getting also from other countries, and also because of BRICS, right? I know I'm including Brazil, South Africa on the LA pitch, but ultimately I think what LA is a prime example of how globalization makes for an excellent economy. Ultimately, prosperity is not something that one individual achieves. Prosperity exists because we achieve it as a society. And in other panels, I think part of the spirit of Los Angeles is that I shouldn't say we, I haven't even paid for a Dodgers ticket, but I do like the Lakers and I paid for Kobe shoes, so right? Everything is kind of initiated here, and this has always been a kind of a pioneer place, right? So what I would say is, as much as we want to talk about globalization, we need to unite the cities of the United States, unite with the Port of Baltimore, talk to the people in New York, talk to the Port of Miami, right? In my world in fintech, we are worried about technology disrupting the speed of payments and all of that, but ultimately, it's all about physicality. And I think on a financial level, on a technological level, and ultimately a very physical level, LA is going to be the leader of trying to make sure that the system, as unstable as it may be, and as unpredictable as it may be, that it's still feasible and it's still something that we can count as a city that's always looking towards prosperity.
Very nice. Thank you. A question for you is, are you adopting crypto?
Sorry, this was... I know 100,000 day today, yeah. Right? Look, what I say is do what you can sleep with, but I ultimately believe in globalization, right, is a tough thing because what's the biggest enemy of globalization? National sovereignty. But I think while we may be dealing with some of that national sovereignty friction to globalization, we're going to see opportunity not just for foreign exchange, we're going to see opportunity for technology to give us a bit more sources, I would say, new sources of profit, of business. And again, I'm a 38-year-old guy that's been living with technology and trying to keep up. I don't know if I can keep up anymore. I might even delete Instagram, honestly. But I do believe that it is important to understand that as much as gold, emeralds, rupees, and other things have been a material source of wealth, we have to respect digital sources. Just be very smart about it. Our business primarily survives off of Mexican peso and dollar, so please keep doing business in Mexican peso and US dollar.
Beautiful, thank you. Okay, last words. Marla, any last comments, any opportunities that you see from your department specifically, or LA specifically, and then we're going to wrap up.
I'm sure we want the value proposition for investing in Los Angeles to be more than just taking credit for sunshine and location, two things that we have absolutely nothing to do about. From my standpoint, having worked at two of the biggest infrastructure entities in the area and big economic drivers, we want you to know that we are being intentional about developing the infrastructure that supports trade and development. We are putting our money where our mouth is, $30 billion. We know that the airport is not perfect, but it's getting closer to it. So,
thank you so much. Emily, last final words for the audience to encourage them. And
sure. Maybe one specific thing that I'll say. Why select LA? I think despite everything that's happening nationally, I think our leadership in clean technology and the fact that we don't, as a state, right, in California, we don't believe in climate change in the same way that we don't believe in gravity. We know that these things are happening and we want that innovation here. I really like, Felipe, what you said about we need international collaboration because we need that innovation. We don't have all those answers here. So come, bring your solutions, join us in solving big problems. We need it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Consul General, any final words and saying, just select them?
There are so many things. I don't want to repeat what has been said, but I think here we will have so many opportunities. And we will end up with the Olympic Games in 2028 with all those sporting events. That's also a wonderful opportunity for LA to showcase itself to the world and welcome delegations.
Fantastic. Well, that sums up the panel for today. Please join me in thanking the panel.
Thank you.
And Select LA. Thank you so much. Cool. Thank you. All right.
All right, walk out music, okay. Thank you, Felipe, and Marla, and Emily, and Sophie, and Juan. Thank you so much. Geez, that's a lot. It's been a lot today. I need a drink, which we will get soon. My job is to close this out. So a couple things for those of you who've been here before. We like to try to summarize and capture some of the essence of what we learned today. I just want to start by thanking the governor, the supervisor, the mayor, all our speakers in every single panel, LA in 2025, trade and logistics, industry clusters, our manufacturing, our sports economy, and then, of course, we have our great presentation from Dr. Tang and Shannon, and thank you, Dean Smith, and then, of course, we now close with this World Trade in 2025. Just a lot of great content that's filling my brain, and it's so important for us, and I want to echo what Emily was saying, right? It's so important for us to have forums like this, to be able to share some of the information that we sometimes know a little bit about, but sometimes you don't get a chance to come together. So I'm just delighted to have been a part of this process and this journey over the last 10 years to create this forum. And hopefully, as we're moving forward the next 10 years, there are going to be a lot more opportunities for us to engage in a different way. Now, coming to the close of this very special 10th anniversary, Select LA Investment Summit, I want to offer my deepest thanks to all of you, our delegates, partners, sponsors, speakers, and friends for taking part in this year's program. For those of you who have traveled around the world to come to join us, really appreciate it. Your commitment to strengthening global ties and investing in the future of Los Angeles means so much to us. So on behalf of the World Trade Center Los Angeles and the LA County Economic Development Corporation, thank you for spending the day with us. And we can't do this type of work by just showing up and just coming here, right? Someone has to put the program together. So Will, Ollie, Jolanda, can you guys stand up for a second? Of course, the rest of the team is here, but these three individuals really led the effort to put together this amazing program for you guys. And of course, an event like this doesn't happen without a powerful network of partners. So I want to take a moment to recognize and thank our incredible network sponsors who have supported and elevated this year's summit. Our manufacturing network sponsor, Bank of California, thank you so much for championing LA's most dynamic and evolving sectors. Our trade and logistics sector network, the Japan Business Association, thank you for helping us highlight LA's role as a gateway to the Pacific and beyond, and thank you for being with us for the last decade. Our Clean Energy Network sponsor, LA County Supervisor Hilda Solis, thank you for advancing LA's leadership in sustainability and clean technology. And by the way, just another, always these stories that it's coming to mind. She was one of the first backer of the Foreign Direct Investment Report. When we were first starting out, we needed a financial backer to start it. She was the one who actually gave us the seed funding to start this. So thank you, Supervisor Solis. Our Aerospace and Defense Network sponsor, the City of Palmdale, thank you for representing LA's proud legacy and cutting-edge innovation in this critical industry. And our Sports and Entertainment Network sponsor, LA Tourism, thank you for showcasing the energy, creativity, and global pull of our region's signature sectors. We're also grateful to the sponsor for this year's Foreign Direct Investment Report, GoBiz. Thank you so much, California Governor's Office of Business Economic Development, Emily, Maria, the entire team's been great to work with, and I hope you guys get a chance to see what they do in Select USA and how proud we are to have this California delegation united as one, as we've been discussing. Previously, I think some of you guys know this, when we would show up, and to Lieutenant Governor's point, we were a bit frugal before, so it was like a flea market pop-up store. And then now, the way that we show up really representing the true diversity, but also the true power we have in California. So proud of the work that you guys have done. Thank you so much for your leadership. Who else? LMU, of course, Loyola Marymount University Center for International Business Education. Thank you so much for all your support and the brilliant and amazing data that you guys provide with us all the time. Remember again, If you want a roller coaster ride, where do you go? Texas. So, thank you. And Felipe, I know you're from Texas. We didn't say Texas is great. We didn't say not to go to Texas. We just said if you want a roller coaster ride, go to Texas. There's a difference. All right. And then Port of Long Beach, thank you for always supporting us. And last year being the host, and last year we had an amazing cocktail reception on the boat, right? Now this year you're going to see something else completely different, which I'll talk about a bit later. Thank you for helping us produce such a valuable resource for understanding the trends, opportunities, and impact of foreign direct investment across Southern California. And I also want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our international government sponsors for your partnership. You guys are the backbone of this global engagement effort. So the Consulate General of Canada in Los Angeles, Flanders Trade and Investments, Cotra, and Jetro. You guys have been amazing partners over the years. We're looking forward to working more closely with you as we're moving forward. Also greatly appreciate the support of our other sponsors and exhibitors who helped make this summit a success. AEG Worldwide, O'Melveny, SoCal Gas, Grastic, Sachitata, Farmacia Similares, the City of Santa Monica, City of Torrance. Please join me in a round of applause for all the wonderful organizations that make it possible for us to be here today. Now, I know we do this all the time. When we thank the sponsors, everybody's clapping. But no, I want to take this moment again because these forums, when we're together, the conversations we're having outside, some of the discussions as a follow-up that we have is so important, but without these kind of convenings, we don't have the opportunity to come together the way that we've been talking about all day. So really, thank you. And then during the reception, I hope you get a chance to network with each other and thank these sponsors for making this happen and allowing our region to come together. Now, finally, I want to extend our sincere thanks to Silverstein Properties, the sponsor of tonight's official Select LA reception. We invite all of you to join us this evening on the 59th floor of the US Bank Tower, the tallest building in Los Angeles. I know, Wilshire Grand is actually supposed to be the tallest. They have the spire, but when you're on the 59th floor, you'll be looking down at the tallest building, so you'll see the difference. But the skyline's incredible. We want to show you this spectacular view of Los Angeles, and today will be a great day for it. So, this is the important part, the logistics part. For your convenience, we have provided bus transportation departing from outside the hotel lobby on 7th Street, starting at 5:15 p.m., which is coming up in 5 minutes, with additional trips running every 20 to 30 minutes. Return trips back to the Intercontinental will be available until 8:30 p.m. Parking is also available inside the US Bank Tower for $18. And if you prefer to stretch your legs, it's a great day to walk out, and you can walk there in less than 10 minutes. Depending on how fast you walk, and it's down Flower Street. A quick note for all the registered diplomats, please join us right after this in room number 1, which is the left side of the conference room, and because we're in Hollywood, stage right. The breakout session is going to be there, and just the main ballroom for a private, closed diplomatic session, and afterwards we'll all head over to the cocktail reception together to the US Bank Tower. So, as we're closing out today, I hope you guys are leaving with new insights, new connections, and clear understanding of the incredible potentials of doing business in Los Angeles. And as we celebrate this 10th anniversary, we're not just looking back at a decade of impact, we're looking ahead. We're focusing on designing a decade of opportunities. Why? Because foreign investments creates hundreds and thousands of jobs, pay billions of dollars in wages to Angelenos, and enriches both our economy and our communities as well. The international diversity of Los Angeles is not just a part of who we are, it is one of the greatest foundational strengths. And I hope that message has come through loud and clear at this year's Select LA Investment Summit. A couple closing thoughts as well. I want to take from Victor what he said earlier when it comes to what they've done throughout Mexico. Kindness Thursday. I love that. Let's do Kindness Wednesday evening at the cocktail reception, be kind to each other. And another thing that I realize that we sometimes come to these events is great, but there's an importance to showing up for one another during difficult times. And let's be honest, it's been quite difficult over the past few months. I'm so grateful that you guys have shown up, not only showing up here, but participating and engaging. So as we continue to move forward, let's show up with intention, with care, and with kindness for each other. So thank you so much. And as we go through this roller coaster ride, again, go to Texas if you want to enjoy that. Here is about stability. So with that, thank you so much. On behalf of LADC and the World Trade Center Los Angeles, I want to thank you again for joining us. Looking forward to welcome you back to Select LA in 2026. And I think we have one more event coming up on the slide, which is our Future Forum on June 11th. You guys are always asking, how do you keep engaging with us? That's the next event that's coming up. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you at the US Bank Tower to really celebrate and show up for each other. Thank you so much.